Okay, everybody. Thank you for your patience. Southfork is much bigger than we think it is. There are a lot of rooms, and we're still waiting on a couple ladies. But we're going to get started. We're going to get started on the fun. So as I said, these are the Sultry Sirens of Southfork. And we are going to begin with, let's see if she's here. She's not here. So as Acting Cooper, she slept with JR, Cliff, and various others. Ms. Audrey Landers. She arrived in Southfork as long-lost Ewing cousin Jamie after spending time in Santa Monica with Jack Tripper and Janet Wood. Ms. Jenilee Harrison. As April Stevens, she was the first woman to truly get over body over Pam after she went kaboom, and Jenna ran off with Ray. Ms. Sheree Wilson. This is the very first Jenilee to come between Bobby and Pam, Ms. Morgan Fairchild. As Callie Harper, she became the last unfortunate woman to become Mrs. J.R. Ewing. Ms. Cathy Podewell is with us. And I'm so excited, a dear friend of mine who's such a doll, as Valene Ewing. She got the hell out of Dallas to make a new life for herself in Knots Landing. Please welcome the lovely Miss Joan Van Ark. All right, welcome ladies, welcome. When's the last time you all were here at the ranch?
The 30th anniversary.
That's right, the 30th anniversary, yeah.
We're here for the 30th.
And I haven't been here since I was a kid. So since I first even came on in film, I've never been back till now. And what a great being back thing. Hasn't this show been phenomenal? We've all been talking about, this is the best show that I have ever attended, and it's a well-oiled machine, so thank you all for being here. Yeah, it's incredible.
And what about the rest of you? Last time you were here at Southfork?
I've never actually been here before.
You know,
None of my scenes were shot here.
I rewatched that show last week, and yeah, you were in your apartment causing all sorts of trouble. We're gonna have a look at that scene in a little bit, but.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Cathy, Joan, you both came back for the final episodes when Larry Hagman was in the reboot, but were you both here? You were at the ranch, were you?
No.
Joan?
I was working in bars in another area, but yes, I was here but it was with Larry, and that's why I always bring, when it's a Dallas-related thing, it's a keychain that he gave that I love. I put my own car keys when I come up. But you have to see, he's looking like a jester, a court jester, which in fact Larry was. He played such a villain in Dallas, the thing we're celebrating is.
I forgot. I was back here for the reboot too.
Sure.
I was here too. Oh!
For a wedding or two.
Yes.
Rebecca?
Yeah.
You got married? All right, well, Joan.
Wait, I just want to say what Larry said.
Please do, please, yes.
Don't worry, be happy, feel good. Now that's Larry to the core. God bless Larry.
His presence is definitely felt, I think. I've heard from so many people that feel Larry Hagman. This was his second home, I think, and he'll always be part of this. So, Ms. Van Ark, you had the distinction of appearing in the very first episode of Dallas that was shot at this ranch. It was a different ranch used for the miniseries. So, it was known as Duncan Acres back then. What do you remember about first coming to Southfork Ranch?
Well, the preamble to that was that I was in New York. I recorded voiceovers for Estee Lauder for some 11 or 12 years. And I was in New York, and we would spend 2 and 3 solid days doing the commercial and then the tags, and it was a long voiceover thing. I didn't have to worry about eye makeup, but I certainly had to be in shape to do 3 days of recording. And they made the offer to William Morris, my agent at the time, to play Valene. And I said, there's no way I can be in 2 places at once. And I read the script, and I said, it's wonderful, but I'm Gemini, but not that crazy, so. But my husband, did this go? Yeah, too long-winded. Oh, shut up. But anyway, he said, no, this looks special. This is something you have to do. And he talked me into it, and the rest is history, because I'm very emotional. I'm very emotional about being around Linda and Larry and all the wonderful people that are here in this row in these incredible seats.
Speak for yourself. I didn't get it. Ran out of seats for me. All right, so let's actually look at that monitor there, and we'll have to, up on the stage, we'll have to kind of just peek and listen. So this is one of the reasons Valene left Southfork.
You catch your death on a morning like this.
I'll catch my death anywhere around you.
Then don't hang around me, honey.
You handled this one perfectly.
Modesty forbids my agreement, but you're right.
So what's my future?
None around here.
Any choices?
Well, $5,000 and escort out of the state.
Any others?
Escort out of the state.
There was no reason for this. You took a little girl's daddy and you lost yourself a brother for nothing.
I wouldn't call another brother in my hair nothing, honey.
Oh, he wouldn't have been in your hair. He would have brought you nothing but himself, his own good self, something you could have used.
Go get dressed.
Where are you going?
Gonna write you a check.
Don't bother. You have taken everything from me. My child and my husband. The one thing you can't do is buy me with your Ewing money.
After 2 years when we went to Knots Landing, since Ted Shackelford and I were Gary and Val moving to the cul-de-sac here in California, that delayed, that was Valene, and she was, southern to the core. But they said, no, we can lose that southern accent now that we're in Los Angeles in the Seaview Circle.
Joan, you mentioned to me not long ago that one of the original cast members of Dallas you became very close to, and you also offered a makeup tip to.
Barbara.
Barbara Bill Gates. Tell us about that.
Oh my goodness. She said, Joan, and people criticized me left, right, and center. Very pale lipstick. Maybe it's retro. I'm not sure. But I think the eyes are the prize, and the thing that should be the top. She said, I really think it's wonderful, and she loved it. She was the only person who has ever said anything positive about the very pale lipstick that I wear. And so I went out and got her one and gave it to her as a gift. But she was so special.
I adored Miss Ellie. Didn't we? I love Miss Ellie.
Everybody loved
Miss Ellie. And Clayton, we love how you as well. Ms. Fairchild, your episode aired as the 3rd episode of season 2. It was right after Joan's two-parter. What do you remember about when you first met Patrick and Victoria Principal, and what your scenes were like with them? Any memories of those 2 actors?
Well, I met Patrick first because most of my scenes were with him until Victoria tells me off. And just what a fun, upbeat, wonderful actor he is to work with. He's always just such a gentleman and so lovely. And, you know, I was thrilled to be shooting here in Texas. I'm from Dallas and grew up here, so to leave town and then be able to come back shooting on this big show was quite fun. And just, you know, the show wasn't on the air yet when I shot, so nobody knew that it was going to be this huge hit. As everybody on this stage knows, you know, you keep working and you never know what's going to click or not. And so to see it blossom the way it did and take off the way it did was amazing. And I was just so happy for everybody because it's such a wonderful cast. Linda and Larry, I mean, Patrick, everybody was so lovely to work with. So when you feel like you're friends, you're really happy when the show really takes off like that. And I got to have a scene with Larry too, and honey, we were just chewing the scenery like man. Always a joy to work with.
Well, you mentioned Pam, Victoria, telling you off. Speaking of that, let's have a look at the monitor.
I love Bobby, and I want him. What do you want?
Bobby?
Bobby? We're a husband and a father for your child. Some security.
With Bobby, I get them all.
I'd prefer you got it with somebody else.
Pamela, why don't you just cut a deck of cards and roll the dice for me?
Come on, Bobby. Let's get down to basics. The child. Is Bobby the father of your child? Because if he is, he'll do something about it. But it doesn't mean he's going to leave me for you. Come on, Jenna. Surely you know. Is Bobby the father?
I never said he was.
Is he?
No.
Well, it could have been.
Well, and it might be, right? Oh, my little Charlie. Maybe she'll show up too. So 1980 is when Jenna next appeared. It was played by an actress named Francine Tacker. And that was the same year that you, Morgan, debuted on Flamingo Road, which was produced by a very successful producer named Michael Fileman, who also produced Knots Landing and Falcon Crest. Was there ever talk of you playing Jenna again, or were you committed to Flamingo Road and other projects?
Well, after Flamingo got canceled, they did offer me to come back and create Jenna again. I had gone on and had a production partner. We were working on developing a pilot of my own where I would have been a producer. So I passed on that. But you know, the show had already been on several years by that time. Back then, you know, shows usually lasted 7 or 8 years. Honey, if I'd known the show was going to last that long, maybe I should have taken it. But at that time, I had my shot to be a producer and produce my own show, so I passed for that.
Well, if you fans are like me, I stuck around on Friday nights to watch Falcon Crest, and you appeared as Jordan Roberts. And I've met all the Falcon Crest cast, except I did meet Jane Wyman briefly in Palm Springs. What are your memories of Miss Jane Wyman, Angela Channing?
Oh, Jane Wyman was such a terrific actress and person, and so wonderful to work with. You know, I remember they gave you a few warnings. You know, ask her about Reagan, and you know, things. Anyway, my first day I was working. And I was in a scene with David Selby of Richard Cheney. And he's in the hospital, and I have a scene with him, and then I'm leaving as Angela comes in. And so we're blocking, rehearsing, and as I left, I made some wisecrack, and like it was totally silent. And then Jane laughed, and then everybody laughed. And then somebody grabbed me and said, "Did anybody tell you not to make jokes when Jane's on the set?" And I said, "Well, no," but she laughed. You know? And she was great. I remember I came down one day because I tended to wear my own clothes on the show, and I was in some like hot leather Jean-Claude Jutois, who was the big Rodeo Drive leather guy back in the day. Mini skirt, big lapels, you know, the big shoulder pads, and all this Wentgel jewelry, my big
clunky jewelry, 80s, you know, massive earrings, massive everything. And I came down to do the show, and somebody came over and said, "Oh my God, Jane's gonna hate that, you've gotta go change." And I said, "Well, honey, I'm wearing my own clothes, this is what I brought. What do you want me to change it to?" You know? And just about that time, Jane walked down the set, and she came over and she kind of looked me up and looked me down, looked me up and looked me down, and kind of went over and looked at one of my bangles, and she kind of clinked it and said, "Well, this is what this damn show needs, a little glitz." But I have to tell you my favorite Jane Wyman story. When we were shooting up in Napa, the actors would stay at the Silverado Country Club, and the crew would stay at this Holiday Inn. We'd fly in and out of Oakland, and the Holiday Inn was closer to Oakland Airport. So one time I went up and I just had one day, so I thought, well, I'll just stay at the Holiday Inn because it's closer to the airport. Well, I finished shooting, I got sick as a dog. I had the flu, I was throwing up for like 3 days, I was so sick. And nobody knew because I was only scheduled to shoot one day, nobody knew I was still there. So about day 2, I get this knock on the door, housekeeping, and I'm like, no, just the towels. And I'm, finally keep knocking. Finally, I go to the door. It's this tiny little woman with her hair in a bun and this huge pot of soup. And it was Jane, without the wig, without the makeup. She always stayed there because she didn't like to travel, and they gave her a kitchenette. And she had heard I was sick and made me this huge pot of homemade soup. And that's Jane Wyman I always remember the best.
That's great. I'll tell you quickly. So Susan Sullivan, who played Maggie Giaberti, she told me a story about when Falcon Crest brought on Lana Turner. And the CBS photographers were there, and they wanted to get a photo of Jane Wyman with Lana Turner. So the creator of Falcon Crest, Earl Hamner, who did the Waltons as well, he went over to Lana and said, "Lana, we'd love to get a photo of you with Jane." And Lana Turner said, "Oh, that would be lovely. Please bring Jane to me." So Earl went over to Jane and said, "Jane, Lana Turner was very excited to meet you. Can we get a photo of the two of you?" She said, "Certainly. Please bring Miss Turner over to me." And they had to trick them in a scene to get that photo. So big personalities, legends, and so many legends came on all of these shows. I mean, Knots Landing too. So many amazing legends came on there. Audrey, you had a super long run on Dallas from '81 to '89.
Yeah.
And then you came back for the TNT reboot. It was so great to see you in that.
So much fun.
How would you say Afton changed during that long stretch of time?
Well, I think the character arc was incredible for Afton. Of course, when she first came on, she was this kind of floozy gold digger, and it was a lot of fun to play that role. And she was always flitting between JR and then to Cliff. And honestly, when the character moved on and she fell in love with Cliff, which she obviously did, because why else would she have stayed with him? And that's funny, I've been asking a lot of people who've been coming up at the autograph signings, and they always say something about Afton and Cliff, and we've asked each one, like, why do you think she stayed with him? And some people say, well, it was love, which makes a lot of sense, empathy, and then one person said, for the money. Well, I never thought of that one, because by that time, Afton was more self-assured, and the character went through lots of changes, and I was able to sing through all those changes and write all those songs that Afton sang. So
you wrote Afton songs?
Oh yes, I would get the script, and I would say, Afton wasn't supposed to be a singer originally on the show. I was only supposed to be there for a couple of episodes. And one day, when early shooting, and I was very nervous and very new, lunch break, I went into the empty sound stage, and I found a piano there. And I said, oh, this will calm me down, because writing music calms me down sometimes. So I just went there in the darkness in the corner, and I'm working on a little tune, and all of a sudden Leonard Katzman, who was the producer-director, came by with his lunch in hand and said, oh, that's really nice, what are you doing? I said, I'm just working on something I'm writing. That was that. Next script came in, and I was a singer. And it was a really cool script, and as the character developed, the song a lot of people know is Steal Me Away. And and so I wrote that song about Afton and JR. And then it just stuck, and the character developed year after year of singing.
Well, I just realized what was happening back there when I introduced you, and I was saying she slept with JR and Cliff. Several of you stepped forward.
Yeah, my first episode was sleeping with JR.
Well, speaking of which,
yes.
I think we met Afton when she came for Mitch and Lucy's wedding.
Yes.
So we're going to look at Afton taking something borrowed at her brother Mitch's marriage to Lucy. Let's have a look.
First time I saw you, I could tell. You always get what you want.
Well, I try.
So what happens now?
Well, now I think we ought to get downstairs before people start wondering where we are.
I meant from now on.
Well, you and your mama have to go back to Mississippi. But old JR is going to get you just a wonderful going-away present.
Maybe we're going. Maybe we're not.
No, she didn't. Oh, Mrs. Ewing, I'm so sorry.
Sam, that's all right. Clint, it's fine. I'll just go upstairs and change. Don't worry, Sam.
Hurry back.
Swellen, your dress. Oh, it's nothing. Our house certainly holds fascination for you, doesn't it?
That was my first scene ever on the show.
In bed with Larry?
In bed, yes.
Tell me how that conversation goes before.
Yeah, it's 7 a.m. We finally are on set. Hello, everybody. This is Audrey, and here's Larry, and get under the covers. And, it's funny. TV land, you wear a slip so your shoulders are bare, you give the illusion that you're not, wearing clothes. And Larry climbs in wearing his jeans and boots and at the beginning there's I don't know if you saw, there's a bucket of champagne standing next to the bed. Well, we're about to shoot the scene, and it starts where Larry kind of rolls over, and the director calls action, and Larry comes over and takes a handful of ice and throws it down my back and begins the scene. And I am the consummate professional, and I am taught you do not stop until the director yells cut. So I am trying desperately to say my lines, and everybody on the set is in on the joke, and they're all laughing, and I'm like, and then finally they cut. But it was their way of breaking the ice, so to speak.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally. I want to address some of the folks who are not with us anymore. Ken, first of all, you spent many, many scenes with him. I guess I'll just ask you, just talking about that scene. What was it? How was it different shooting a love scene with Cliff Barnes?
Wow. Well, Cliff and Ken and I I think we had a really great chemistry. We really did. With Larry, it was always fun and silliness. And with Ken, he was a very serious actor. And the character, obviously, their relationship as characters was much more serious and enduring. And so the love scenes were different, and they were filled with lots of anguish and so much that went along with their relationship. Yeah.
Both were very, very special. And and you got to work with Ken and Larry before we lost them both.
Yes.
It must have been such an incredible opportunity to have one last round with them at Southfork, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah. So to speak.
Yeah, it was very, very special.
You know, I think we would have loved to see the TNT show go on longer, but just the fact that Larry and Ken got to play those characters again one last time is reason enough to celebrate that show came back. That's the way I feel. Yeah. All right, Jenilee. So many of us already love you from playing Chrissy's cousin Cindy on Three's Company. Yes. So 2 long-running shows that you came on to. Did you take away any lessons from the Three's Company experience when you came here to Southfork to meet a cast that had already been working together for several years?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm listening to all these stories and I'm looking on the monitor and all this, and this was really a salacious show. I had no idea that all of you are like, oh my gosh, and Larry doing that to you on the first, it's like, oh God, figures, you know? Because, yeah. No, I mean, I was, generally speaking, I was younger than most and everything else, and I was really friggin' young when I got on Three's Company. I was like 19 years old, I rolled into that, and then I was really young in Dallas, so I don't know about how I treated it all as show business. I got a job, I said, this is my thing about working, is that I had not planned on becoming an actress at all. It wasn't in my head, it wasn't in that. I was a businesswoman. My dad was an aerospace engineer. He was a fabulous artist. He could paint the Mona Lisa. My mother was a math teacher going to school for 30 years. At night, raising 5 kids, blah, blah, blah. I've always been a tomboy, it's still probably obvious. And I'm into animals and horses, and I have a little ranch, and I'm crazy about all that. But I fell into show business. This is a kind of cute story, but the only reason why I fell into show business is growing up, I was the fat, ugly duckling, which is true. I was a tomboy, fat, ugly duckling.
No, we need evidence. We don't believe that.
Totally true. And anyway, growing up, then I kind of got myself a little bit together. But anyway, my first little love dumped me for a girl that was Miss Northridge and a cheerleader. And after sulking in the backyard for a full month, for a month, sulking in the backyard, my mom came forward and had a little clip about a local beauty contest or something, and I said, no, look at me, I'm like, I don't know if do that. But anyway, but I'm not the prettiest girl in the room at all, but I'm one of the smartest. So I always figure things out, and I'm a really hard worker. So anyway, long story short, I went to a charm school, beauty school, everything else. I started winning beauty contests, and I'd come home, take off the makeup and stuff, and my family would look at me like, really? And because they looked at me like, how did you do that? And I said, you know what, you go through 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours of hair, makeup, and wardrobe, and a professional photographer, you're gonna look like that. So give me a break, right? But anyway, so I fell into show business, and I just felt so lucky to get those jobs because they were fabulous jobs. You get paid for having fun and doing this artistic craft. So I just always felt so lucky, and I didn't think about, Three's Company, I replaced Suzanne Summers when she got booted off the show, and it was just a fog, so much of it, when I was younger. So I don't even remember all these stories, and I know that you guys were all on there, and you had these wonderful, impactful stories, and I'm thinking, gosh, for me, I was just so in awe of all of you guys, and everybody that I just thought, oh my gosh, I'm around all these stars and I'm doing this. Jenny, just keep faking it. Just fake it till you make it. Just keep going. And so on the show, I know that I married Ken Kercheval, Cliff Barnes. I was the only one that he ever married. So I was his only wife. So I'm the only time, because you didn't, because weren't you the mistress always? I was. See? I got him. But I was lived in bed with them. So they never asked me to.
We had all the fun.
They never asked me to take off my clothes. In fact, that's a good story, is that when I was younger, I did do some movies and stuff, but the directors, they'd always try to get in your closet, there could be nudity, and it's like, oh, no, no, and you're so young, and absolutely not, absolutely not. And then by the time you get older and you go like, hey, do I need to take off my clothes or something? And my mom said, honey, isn't it funny that when you're younger, you don't want to show it and you have all these inhibitions, and then you turn like 40, and then they don't want you to take off your clothes anymore. And it's like, really? So, anyway, those are kind of my stories. I don't know. They don't really compare to all these wonderful back-end stories of these beautiful women that have. And I just, looking at all of you, because show business is still, it's still a real tough game to play. And for all of you up here today, and all these reunions are so dang special for us, because every year it's like, who's gonna be there again? Who's gonna be there again? And with Larry gone, and Ken Kercheval gone, and and all these, and Barbara Belgetti's gone. So I just am so grateful that I'm all here with you gals, and I'm sitting up here on the stage with you. And thank you to all of you. I know that everyone feels the same up here, that, if it wasn't for you guys, I'll get emotional. If it wasn't for all of you, we wouldn't be here, and we're taking this experience, because I know you guys feel the same way, is that when we come here, all you guys are doing is throwing love at us, and we really, really, really feel it, and I'm very, very grateful, and I know I'm speaking for all of you, so thank you.
Thank you for that. No, that's a big part of Dallas 2 Emotion. You mentioned taking off your clothes. Well, I bet you wanted to take off your clothes in your very first scene when you arrived at Southfork. So let's have a look at
I look like a boy. Is that
sort of.
Yeah, looks like a boy to me. Oh my gosh, she's a girl. Huh. Pretty scruffy one at that. Right, just like that. That's it, real good. Miss, I'm sorry, it's private property.
Is this the Ewing Ranch? Yes. You must be J.R. Ewing.
Yeah, that's right. And who are you?
Jamie.
Jamie who?
Jamie Ewing. Jason's daughter. My daddy and your daddy were brothers.
So great. I remember that episode so well. I was so excited to see you on the show.
Thank you.
And you moved so well from comedy into drama. You really, well done.
Thank you.
The dream season.
Yes.
You were impacted maybe more than anybody.
Oh, thank you, yeah.
So tell us.
So, like on Dallas, what they would do is they would rotate us in and out. So I didn't have a long run as lots of you did, that like every 2-3 years, they bring on another 3 people that would have their story arc. So that was and then you'd leave. I remember the first day on the set, Morgan Brittany was just leaving, and beautiful, huh? And she was just leaving and said, hold on to your britches, girl. And she walked off the set and I walked on for the next thing. But so after I had a run, and somebody even told me today, because I didn't remember, I was killed in a car crash. My people were all telling me, the scene is, you're getting in a car with your brother, who's Dak Rambo, bless him, bless his heart, and the car blew up, so I was killed. So I was out of Dallas. I was let go. And so I was off. I wasn't filming for 6 months, a year or something. And Leonard Katzman, again, the whole backbone, the whole everything of Dallas, calls me up and said, basically, we're delivering a script for you and we need you to show up on the set next week, or, you know, and I went, well, no, I was killed off the show. And he goes, don't worry about it, get the script and just come on back. So I was like, okay, so, because that whole dream thing, if it hasn't been explained enough, was that the reason behind that is Dallas was on for a while, and Leonard Katzman got burnt out, I don't know what, whatever, but he left the show for a year. They hired another executive producer to do the show that year. Well, the higher beings didn't like what happened with the show that year, so they fired that guy, and Leonard Katzman came back. So the way that Leonard, who was obviously brilliant, the way that he got out of that, because it's like, how do you explain? Like even with me, I was killed, how do I come back? And he said, don't worry about it. So we didn't even know. So we filmed scenes we didn't know, because that whole thing was all of a sudden, and it was pretty brilliant as far as production, that on that one scene, Patrick Duffy's in the shower, right? Nakedness, I guess, was all around. He's naked in the shower and said, oh my gosh, was that a bad dream? So that whole year of storyline was wiped out. And that's how he got through that.
Yeah, Patrick had stepped away for a year, and then he came back, and so they had to find a way to bring him back from the dead.
Oh, so Patrick was even gone that year?
Yeah, he was gone for a whole year.
He was gone too.
Oh, yeah.
See, I was gone, he was gone. So see, it was really good. And yet then people also come up to me and say, but I was the only person, though, that was on Dallas that was then killed twice. Because then somebody even told me today, the story was that I knew I fell off a cliff, but I didn't know.
You fell off a cliff?
I fell off, not off a cliff. Here's your mind.
I know, I'm sorry.
I fell off of a ledge, off a mountain cliff, and, but then the person today, a fan, told me, yeah, and you were in Mexico. And I thought, geez Louise, being in Mexico, what was I doing in Mexico? I'm an idiot. But anyway, so I died twice.
For some reason in my mind, I thought it was like a bunch of oil cans fell on you or something and squished you. That happened too? No, you were killed 3 times.
I fell off a cliff. Maybe I was killed 3 times. Or maybe I just got injured with the oil cans, which happens to me even at my little ranch now. I'll screw it up like that too.
Regardless, because you were a blood Ewing, you were not seduced into J.R. Ewing's
See, that's why,
You missed that. But Sheree, you were not so lucky. Let's take a look at April's first meeting with J.R., which is outside. It's not in bed.
Well, I guess we all know what.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
See that little blonde over there?
Yeah, why?
Looks real familiar. Oh, I know where I saw her. She came to the office, said she was a friend of Jack Ewing.
There she is with him.
I don't think so. I saw her come in with Cliff Barnes. How about that? The man's not separated a week, and he sticks his girlfriend under his wife's nose. I'll tell you, it's going a little too far even for that turnip seed.
JR, this is my wedding day, and that means it's Pam's wedding day, and that is Pam's brother. Now, please don't start.
I wouldn't do anything like that. You know me.
Jamie, this is not the time nor the place.
You certainly have a mouth to match your temper. And a left hook to match my mouth.
Jamie, it's not an Alaskan oil can, honey. Well, look at this rogues gallery. Now, what have I got here? I got a Ewing Barnes, a plain old Barnes, and hooked up to the plain old Barnes is
I have to go into the house and change. For the better, let's hope.
April Stevens, that's right. Now tell me, what is an April Stevens doing at a Ewing wedding?
I invited her. This is a Barnes wedding, too, you know?
Oh, well, in that case, I'll send you the bill for the flowers.
There's another reason. I guess you could say I'm sort of a Ewing.
Oh?
Yes. Jack and I used to be married.
You know, just to add to your story, before I comment on this, when Leonard left the show, he did a show called Our Family Honor, and I was cast by him in Our Family Honor. So we worked together that year. He was the executive producer along with Chuck and Larry Gordon. and he liked my little femme fatale character on that show. So after Larry called up CBS and said the show is going to last 5 more years if you get Leonard back, he goes, I'll put up $1 million, just like JR would have done. He was truly that way in life too, Larry. He said, I'll put up $1 million if you do, and we got to get Patrick back and we got to get Leonard back. And that's what they did. So I got called into his office. My agent says, Leonard Katzman wants to see you. I said, well, the show is canceled, Our Family Honor. She goes, I don't know what it's about. So I went in there and he goes, I had so much fun working with you. You're going to love this. Everybody's favorite nations. You'll have the same dressing room. You'll have the same this, same that. He goes, you're going to be JR's nemesis. That's how we're going to start it out. What do you say? And I was like, I called my agent and I go, unless I'm crazy, I think I just got offered the job on Dallas. It was a dream come true because I've been watching since 1978. I was really only hired for 13 episodes. I was going to kind of be the Black Widow. I was going to come in and anybody who had a scene with me was going to be fired or killed or something. I thought they're going to hate working with me. I was like horrified. But it worked out, and I was JR's nemesis to start out. I was kind of a bitch on wheels with a whip. I was a very catty. How mean was I to you? That was terrible.
Well, that's what I want to ask you. I think out of all of the characters who have ever been on Dallas, your character probably evolved the most. Usually the villains stay the villains, the good guys stay the good guys, but April became just so darn lovable. That when you left the Bobby
after you have a little pillow talk with JR and you get $100 million for his 5% of Ewing oil, you don't have to be that ruthless anymore. No, we got along so well, the cast. We were all having so much fun. My mantra every day going to work was, don't laugh so hard that you cry your makeup off. Don't laugh so hard. Because Patrick and Larry are true brothers. Their frickin' frat routine had Cathy and I, sometimes we were crying. We were laughing so hard. I would look over and she's supposed to be off camera and I could see her and the makeup artist, Joe Mama, would come in and goes, Patrick, stop it. So they decided I had to become a good girl. That was my character arc, so I could end up with Bobby.
Yes.
Because Bobby can't be with anybody.
Didn't you find that when your character became a good girl, it was not as interesting to play? I felt that was my character.
Yes, to be the sassy little woman with shenanigans is always fun, but I had a great time with Bobby.
Until the very end. And if you're lucky enough to be here tomorrow, we are going to look at an episode from April in Paris, which was not your very happy trip to Paris. Not for April, but that's tomorrow. Cathy, thank you for being so patient.
Of course.
I saved JR's child bride for last. Tell us about winning that role, because you were also very, very young. You were a kid.
20. Okay, Joan. How old was I? I was 23. And I got an audition. It was supposed to be for 6 or 7 episodes for a character in Dallas. I hadn't watched the show because I was sort of like in high school, middle school, and I was very busy and I didn't watch the show, but of course, who didn't know, everyone on the show and every character in Dallas, and it was, iconic at that time. So I thought, cool, and the scenes were with JR, very cool. And I got a call back with Leonard Katzman, and then he called me back for a second call back with Larry to read with Larry. So I was a huge I Dream of Jeannie fan, so I was dying that I was sitting, I was like in the office, and there's Larry, and there's me, and we're reading the scene, and it was the seduction scene in Haleyville. So, apropos to the scene, I was just like, and I just got red. I could feel, I was like, oh shit, oh no, my chest is red, my face is red, and it was perfect for the scene, and that was it.
I knew in that moment, and Larry later told me, you were the one. Like, I knew, that was you. And so, yeah, thank you, Larry. And it was only supposed to be, like Sheree said, you were only supposed to be on 13. I was supposed to do 6 or 7. And then they liked, the character and the chemistry, and thank goodness, thank you, Leonard Katzman, for keeping me around. Yeah. So it was really fun, amazing.
And Cathy, did you have an icebreaker with Larry, like some others have?
Audrey's talking about ice, and I was like, did Larry do that to me? I was like, that sounds so familiar. I mean, he was such a goofball, as we've all said, that he from the minute I hit the stage, or we filmed here for the first few months, I was included in everything. He made me feel like a part of the family, and the show had been on for 10 years, and I was this young thing, and he and Patrick would say, come on, darling, come and have lunch with us. So I was included, right? And you feel the warmth of this family, and they were all huge stars, and they were like taking me in, and literally made me feel a part of the family from minute one.
Well, after the tryst in Haleyville, Callie did show up at Southfork, and that's what we're going to look at right now.
My audition scene, actually.
Oh?
I'm Mrs. J.R. Ewing. Just look at this if you need to.
Bobby, it was all a joke. I only married her to keep her brothers from killing me.
Is that what you really done? You told me that you loved me and that you wanted to bring me here to Dallas to marry and to live with you.
Is that true, J.R.? Well, in a kind of vague sense, I suppose it was.
Well, it may not have meant much to you, but I loved you. And I married you because I wanted to live with you and have your kids. And by damn, married we are.
I was still married when I was forced to marry you. Now, that's coercion, and that marriage certificate is not worth the paper it's printed on, believe me.
J.R., just a second. Now, I'm looking at the date here, and Sue Ellen had divorced you just before this, so you were a free man.
So, I guess we are married after all.
Yeah, well, you'll play hell proving that in this part of the country, honey.
J.R., did you marry this girl?
Well, I suppose I did, but...
Then you own up to it and do the right thing.
Well, look at her. You think she's gonna fit in Dallas?
What's so all-fired wonderful about Dallas? You think I couldn't dress and walk and talk as good as anyone you know? You just watch me.
Well, I think maybe you could, and I also think maybe you married beneath yourself.
Maybe so. But I'm gonna make him a proper wife, and he's gonna make me a proper husband.
Are you hungry, child?
Name's Callie. Calpurnia, really, and yes, ma'am, I'm right hungry.
Then sit down and join us.
Look, Callie. Perfect seat for you. Right here. There you go. And welcome to Southfork.
I actually go on to say, everything you ever said to me was lies, but we was married. You just left me there and ran. Why do I know that after 40 years? Because that was the line that I said to get into my accent right before we shoot every scene in my head. And I've since heard actors say they have, if they have to do an accent, they have something that triggers the accent for them, and it was that. That's why I have it. Why do I still know that accent?
And the clip did early on. Bobby, gets up and comes to your fence and says that.
Hold on, JR.
Yeah, you got the better end of the deal. Yeah. Okay, so we're having to wrap up because we have another panel coming up next. But when I was researching all of you, 4 words came up quite often. Maybe not for all of you, but the 2 of the words were Love Boat, and the other 2 words were Fantasy Island. So I wanted to ask by a show of, I got to work for Ernst Spelling, so I adore that man. I always try to bring him into conversations. Raise your hand if you sailed on the Love Boat. And if you landed with Mr. Work and Tattoo on Fantasy Island. Pretty good. So to close this out, do any of you have a very fun Love Boat or Fantasy Island story to share?
Gosh, I love. There was one fantasy. Well, there was the Love Boat Cruise, which was great. I did that with my sister, and it was a fabulous Mediterranean cruise. That was fun. But then there was a fantasy island in which I played an 83-year-old woman. Wow. Whose fantasy was to go back to the days when she was a Ziegfeld girl in the 20s. And so I got to learn how to dance and walk like a Ziegfeld girl and wear the costumes, and it was just a really special, to be able to age and to play both parts like that.
I think I remember that, actually.
Yeah.
I think I do. You got to wear Ziegfeld costumes, or probably similar to those in those shows. Either of you have a fantasy island?
I have so my fantasy island was all about, if everybody kind of remembers it, but somebody had a fantasy, right, and that would come true, which is when you got to arrive on the island. So I was the reality part of the story, that I was a basketball player, and the guy's fantasy was he wanted me as the popular basketball player, athlete, to fall in love with him. So being this basketball player, they brought in Pat Riley, who's a huge basketball coach, very famous. He came in and he was my coach, teaching me so I looked like a basketball player. But the guy that was the star that was a fantasy, was Sonny Bono. And what's funny about it is that there was one scene that he wins the girl, which is me, and we have to kiss. And I can just show you. And we have to kiss. So Sonny Bono comes up and he's like, so his kiss is like, so I'm thinking so I'm here and my hands are kind of here. So I'm having his head and doing this, and Sonny Bono starts like going and kind of freaking out, and he goes, well, God, my hair, what are you doing? I'm going, well, geez, Louise, why am I so friggin' good? So anyway, that was but it was Sonny Bono. So anyway, that was,
So you and Cher have something in common. Do you do a Cher imitation, Jenilee?
Pardon me?
Do you do a Cher imitation? Can you turn back time? All right. Well, it's great to end with Fantasy Island because I think that you have probably made a lot of people's fantasies come true this weekend. I know you have mine. Joan, you want to tell a quick little story?
No, but I just want to say, from this vantage point here, only exception, I look down. And blondes obviously do have more fun.
Absolutely. Well, all right. And Sheree, I just want to thank you. You were very kind a few months ago to write a commentary in my book about Jack Rambo.
He was such a gentleman, and he was just as sweet as the day is long. I just adored him, and I loved working with him. I wasn't very nice to him on the set, but the minute they called cut, he was just a love.
This fantasy island I did was with Jack. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to make a shameless plug. I'm in the corner over there. I have a new book that came out. It's called When You Step Upon a Star. It's filled with a lot of Dallas stories. Sheree wrote a lovely commentary, as did Linda. So if you get a chance for the weekend, come visit me. I want to thank all of you so much. We'll see you again tomorrow. Smiles, smiles, everyone. Welcome to Fantasy Island.
This weekend. You can all tell such Dallas fans, amazing. The joy that you felt. Thank you.
Currently, that are battling MS, but it's not a death sentence anymore. Through this research, there are now over 20 therapeutics. And I've got angels finding a cure. So, Just don't miss it.